I have a career break. In that career break, I have a huge career break. You don't grow in your life now, the society starts putting pressure more than your family puts in. But honestly, Python was not my top skill. Power BI was my top and is still as the top. But I didn't say that in my initial 4 to 5 interviews. As soon as the money comes in your hand, you forget about all other things in your life. Any exam in India, I've given all of them, sir. The only disadvantage that I faced during that time was I was overconfident and I was having another fear that I am from a non-tech background. Will I be able to do this? Thought of quitting it in 1 week itself. And if you have that fear, it's better you start with SQL. Whatever the gap was there in my resume, I prepared answers around it in such a way that
when I was recording this podcast, there was one line by our guest speaker which gave me the goosebumps when he said, "Serving to the nation is in our blood." And our guest speaker desperately wanted to do that, but unfortunately he couldn't make into the defense services and faced multiple failures in other popular government exams. And he wanted to give back to the society. So after completing his graduation and post-graduation, he was working as a tutor. And you will be shocked to hear this, that recently he has started working as a data analyst. So make sure to watch this podcast till the very end to know all those harsh realities. And also, if you want to change your life but still in a doubt that how you will be able to do it after having 5 to 6 years of career gap, then this is the must watch podcast for you. He will share everything, that how he moved into the data analytics after this much of career gap, how he prepared for it, what skill sets did he acquired, how he applied for the job, what kind of difficulties and hurdles he faced, also the right strategies, projects and resume tips so that you can also crack your data analytics interviews. So let's get started. So thank you so much, Amman, for joining me in this podcast, and I'm really excited to talk about your journey, your experience and everything. But it would be really great if you can give a short introduction to our audience who is watching you for the first time, anything about your academics and professional background.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'm Amman Verma and I'm a mechanical engineer. After that, I've completed my MBA Finance and I was taking tuitions for the 4 years. And thereafter, I transitioned into data science domain. And right now, I'm a data analyst in 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗃 Hyderabad.
As you talked about your background, how was your life going on before starting your career as a data analyst? Probably let's start from your engineering days.
So like I completed my engineering in 2015 and in 2015 I started taking tuitions as well. So the thing was as soon as the money comes in your hand, you forget about all other things in your life and you think probably that is the only path you need to take. So I was into this for 4 years and after that like COVID hits and thereafter everything stops. So that made me to remind like what next. So after that I found like data science is the domain that I need to get into. I explored a bit and thereafter I went into, and finally I'm here in front of you.
I'm very curious, like what actually happened that you had to think about this tuition part, right? You did your engineering, then your MBA, then like everyone will ask this question, why you were just working as a tutor? What happened?
Yeah, okay, so I'll get into a bit detail into that. I'm from a defense background. My father is in Indian Navy.
Awesome.
So yeah, so we are posted in South India most of the time. So my education and degree and everything is been completed in Chennai. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there is a place away from Chennai which is like, you can call it as a kind of village kind of. Okay, not totally, but it was. So the problem was the teachers doesn't like to come to that place because it is away from city. Everybody want that city kind of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So we don't have permanent teachers who can talk in English or in Hindi so that we understand the thing. So what happened in 11th and 12th, that is your base years and you need good explanation, you need good teachers so that you get good marks ultimately, mm-hmm. which unfortunately I couldn't. So after that somehow I got a good college, and thereafter in that college I brushed up all my skills which need to be done in 11th and 12th. And thereafter when I found that okay fine, I have this knowledge, I should not waste it. And I found that okay, the children's that I call them as my juniors, they were not having the same environment that I had. So I need to give something back to the society. So this was the point which motivated me, okay fine, I'll take the tuition up and I'll give them this knowledge which I have, and ultimately their life also grows and they can do much better for the country. So this was the only point. There's nothing special about it. and like once money comes into it, everybody is happy, even in your family everybody is happy, but ultimately at some point things become saturated. So thereafter I have to consider the other line.
Since you belong to this kind of family background, so did you also try for the government jobs and you were preparing for it? Was that any kind of thing going on?
Yes sir, definitely sir. That is in blood sir. I have been born and brought up in the defense background, and entirely that thing gets into my blood. So I have tried a lot. I have given NDA exams. After graduation, I have given CDS exam, Air Force, FCAT exams, and many more. You just name the exams and I have given those. Okay, let it be railways, let it be SSCs, any exam in India, I have given all of them, sir. The only disadvantage that I faced during that time was I was overconfident. That was one thing, and second thing was I could not clear the main. That's why I'm not into the government job. But I tried till my last attempt, and finally that hampered also in some way, and that was a blessing in disguise also in some way.
For your livelihood, you were working as a tutor. During that time, did you face any mental breakdown? If yes, how did you deal with it? Because the monetary compensation part for the tutors in India especially would not be good enough to survive in this society. So how you were dealing with all those scenarios?
Yes sir, I would like to start with that. Yeah, I too had mental breakdowns. And the kind of society that we are living in India, the thing is, once you don't grow in your life, the society starts putting pressure more than your family puts in. So that was the sole reason that I had many mental breakdowns. And coming to the salary part, the biggest disadvantage of this teaching field is, sir, after some point your salary also becomes saturated. Even if you ask more than that, people will ask, you are just teaching, right? Why don't you want that much extra? And our society is such, if you don't have a higher salary, people don't respect you. It's as simple as that. The more money you have, the better bank balance you have, the better societal the place you have. So that was one thing. Second thing, like as I already said, I was in a defense background. So like there is an area where you can call it as like it's kind of mental barrier we have in our mind. Let's take a small example. My father friend, they will tell, okay, my son has done this, why don't you ask your son to do the same? Okay, and our parent, it's not like their problem, it's just like they want their children to grow in their life. Right. So they ultimately tell us, okay, why don't you try this, why don't you try this? And there only the problem starts. If you see too many options, you end up in doing nothing. So that was the problem I too faced, and I hope that viewers who are watching us will also be facing it. So the only thing I had that time was, okay, let's do it whatever we are doing right now, and ultimately we'll get some solution. So that was the only thing.
Talking about your current background, Amman, so after having almost 5 years of career gap, right, because you were into the tuitions, you were teaching people, so obviously you didn't gain any professional experience, especially talking about the IT industry or these kind of job profiles. So when and how did you get the motivation to explore the data analytics, data science? Because in the market, in the IT industry, there are tons of things. So how this motivation especially came for the data analytics?
Okay sir, so sir, till 2018 I continued tuition, and in 2018 my father got transferred to a new place. So there initially, you know that once you get into, you need some time to know that place. So in that meantime, you can say 6 months or the 1 year, I was doing nothing, literally nothing sir, just preparing for the government job. And this actually created a mental pressure in my mind. And my father told, why don't you try something extra, why don't you try something extra? And the very next year, in the entire world, the COVID hits and everything stops, everything freezed. So that was the point when everybody could have stopped and thought of, okay, what next? So I was one of them. So I thought, okay, tuition will not be serving me in my entire life, since I was taking offline tuitions and the things were going towards online. So I was not that familiar in taking online tuitions. Over that, I don't have any students in the new place. So I thought, why not doing something extra? And in that time, something peculiar happened with me. Like I was just surfing internet and I need to buy something from an e-commerce website, and I didn't finish the order. And what happened next, wherever I used to open, like let's say YouTube, Facebook or whatever, I used to see that ad very often. And I was literally surprised, like, okay, yeah, I didn't do this, I didn't complete this order. How did these websites know that I need this order? So when I dived deep into it, I found, okay, there is something called data science. So when I explored more, I was in love with the field, and actually this love only took me to the great heights, to the place that I am right now. So this was the motivation behind it.
Now the next question, and the most important one, which our audience is definitely waiting for. So like acquiring the technical skills of data analyst would have been little bit hard for you because of 5 years of career gap, and during that time you also did not explore something on the technical side. So what all important skill set did you acquire to become data analyst? And it would be really great if you can explain it step by step according to their importance in the data analytics role.
Like I already said, when I dived deep into it, there were ton of videos on YouTube. Like, okay, read this, do that, this is how you become this much. Like every lucrative things were there on the internet, but there was no proper roadmap. And that time, luckily, I found Odin school video, and I explored it, and I came to know that, okay, fine, there is a place, virtual school. If I join it, I'll get everything into a single umbrella. So I called them, I inquired, and I took admission. I took admission with a lot of skepticism, because like it is a virtual thing, first of all, and second thing, online world, even still in India, we have that fear of fraud.
Trust issues.
Well, yeah, trust issues you can say, because once we pay money and if the front person doesn't deliver, you end up doing nothing. You can't do anything.
Right.
So I was having that fear also, and I was having another fear that I am from a non-tech background. Will I be able to do this? I love the field, that is another part, but will I be able to learn the skills? That was the very important question. But right from day one, I was like, okay, fine, this field is not for me. I was in total fear. I thought of quitting it in 1 week itself, but there only the magic came from the faculty side. They were very helpful. I called them, they used to respond anytime during the day. They told me that after you complete the course, when you look back, you will see, okay, the fear that I was having was nothing. And thereafter it started. The first class was of Python, basic Python. So in the same manner, like if students can also want to start, I would just suggest them that don't start with Python, because it's a language, and if you have that fear, it's better you start with SQL. That was my second class in Odin school. And I learned SQL queries, how to use them, where to use them, and all the granularity were taught here. And thereafter I was taught BI tool, that was Power BI, and I was also trained in Tableau. These are the two topmost I would call BI tools in industry right now. And I mostly worked on Power BI. My projects were also on Power BI. And thereafter, after this module, I went on to the statistics part. So basic statistics was taught here, and thereafter, after statistics, I was also taught PySpark, which is in huge demand right now. So this was the overall package, and finally they also taught me with basic ML, and with this the course completes. And thereafter, these people also helped me in preparing my resume, which was like, if I would have done, I would have messed it up, and they literally helped me in doing that. They fine-tuned it, and based on that only I got this placement.
Right. If I ask you, can you name that one or maybe two skills which gave you a really hard time? Because again, because of your background, non-tech, what are those one or two skill set which gave you a really tough time to understand?
Sir, I would always say that it was Python, and anytime it would be Python, sir, because it's an endless ocean. But just for the data science sake, you just need a beginner level, which I didn't know initially. I thought, okay, fine, this endless thing, I would not be able to do it. I was from a non-tech background, I'll not be able to do coding. But the thing is, if you keep your mind calm, and if you have that urge to do something good in your life, you'll definitely learn. It's the easiest language I ever found in this technical world, sir.
So what kind of hurdles did you face while applying for the jobs or getting interview calls because of career gap? Because I used to get these kind of questions very frequently, that we have this much of gap, that much of gap. Like, what will happen during the interview calls? Companies will definitely not shortlist us. So I'm sure companies and recruiters would have raised so many questions like on your career gap as well. So please summarize all that experience.
I faced a lot of hurdles, sir, first of all. and like you just name the problem and I face that problem, sir. Because I belong to non-tech background, that was the first problem. Second thing, in that non-tech I have a career break. In that career break I have a huge career break. If you have more than 3 years, it is like taken as a huge career gap in IT field. So these are the three top things that I had as my baggage. So over that, market was bit down that time, it is still down. So that was another hurdle. But ultimately it is said now that if you keep walking in your life, you ultimately find your goal, you ultimately find the success. So that was back in my mind. So what I did was, whatever the gap was there in my resume, I prepared answers around it in such a way that if I say something to the recruiter, he doesn't take it negatively. Like in simple words, if I say that I have projected my career gap in such a way that it was a constructive one. So that constructive quality is also needed in IT sector. Because here I would like to quote one thing, that your skills will give you the job, but your character, your nature will decide that whether you stay in that job or not. So that thing will come only when recruiter sits in front of you, listens what you say, and are you honest or not. So that was the only thing. I honestly said, sir, this was the reason I wanted to give something back to the society. So that's why I was into that field. And I find that that quality is also needed in the IT sector. So taking that quality here, I'm standing in front of you giving this interview. So this was the thing that really impressed the recruiter. And finally, I'm a data analyst.
So how much you were earning as a tutor, and after switching into data analyst role, how much salary you are getting now? Because that will also give another level of motivation, that from this to this, or maybe this. Give some insights about it.
Sure. Definitely. Because I too believe that that is the only part like viewers are waiting for. Because salary is most important thing in current world. So like in tuitions, roughly my LPA used to be 3 LPA, and after getting into this industry it is 7.5 LPA. So awesome. Like there is a huge increase, you can say. And it was just because like I had that gap, I got that low package. But if I say, if you are able to negotiate better, you will even get better packages. So just this is the advice, that don't think that this is the only thing, saturated thing. Data science is a huge ocean. You might get even a 20 LPA salary, you might even get a 30 LPA salary. It's just because of your skill. That's it.
How did you adjust your career gap in your resume, and what kind of projects did you work on that convinced companies and interviewers about your potential to become data analyst? Because audience keeps on asking this question, what to show in the resume, what to not, if we are having this much of gap or coming from different background. So your inputs will be really helpful.
Sure, sir. So before answering this question, sir, like I would like to give a detailed answer to this question, because I find that this question is the base of everything. So see, students, viewers, the resume part is very important. Resume is nothing but your virtual self. What you want to speak about yourself is literally your resume. So I did that mistake. The resume that I prepared was kind of messed up. Like the skills which I was not very confident of, I have put that skill at the top, and the skill I was very confident of, I have put it at the end. And the first question that any recruiter shoots up to you is, okay, tell me the skills you have acquired and what all things you did in those skills. And whatever answer you give is always based on your resume. So like I have put Python as my first skill. But honestly, Python was not my top skill. It was, you can say, intermediate kind of skill. Power BI was my top and is still as the top. But I didn't say that in my initial 4 to 5 interviews. So obviously the second rider question would be, okay, tell me this about Python, tell me that about Python. Okay, code this question for me, code that question for me. And there only I fall. Because ultimately it's a weakness, right? Why you want to project your weakness first? You are there to get a job. Okay, so don't be that dead honest that, okay, this is my weakness. Just be kind of
diplomatic.
Diplomatic. That, okay, fine, this is my strong skill and this I have done in my strong skill. So indirectly what you're doing, you are taking interview to the direction you want to. Because that ultimately will help you in cracking the interview. So that was the thing that I learned in this process. In my 5th interview, I cracked this 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗃 interview, and there I corrected all these problems. I reshuffled my skills. I have put Power BI at my top. I have put Python in the bottom. and based on that I changed the projects also. The project was based on Python. Okay, so I changed the project to Power BI. So it has to match your top skill. Ultimately that gives the confidence to the recruiter that fine, okay, this is the top skill of the candidate and he has done a good project also. And in my entire interview, I would say 2/3 of the time was spent on my experience, that okay, how you have done your project. They went deep into it. They asked me, okay, what libraries you use, what tools you use, why you use this, why not that. Okay, they ask everything, so you have to be ready. So this question you can answer only when you have honestly done a project. And I would also like to add here one thing, like people ask me that from where you have done, can I do this, can I do that. See, ultimately I would just say, whichever domain you are, just take a project from that domain. That will ultimately help you because you belong to that domain. Let's say I was from teaching background, so I have done a project on education kind of thing, education sector in India, what we can improve. That I showed on a dashboard. That really helped interviewers. So this is the small thing, that have faith in yourself, have faith in your skill, and do a project based on that. Prepare a resume based on that. That will ultimately help you in cracking an interview.
What's your sincere advice for all aspiring data professionals? Because as you started as a beginner, as a fresher, maybe you can definitely guide the audience who are just starting with it. What mistakes probably they should not do, and how can they move into it seamlessly?
Thank you, sir. It is a most important question, I would say, till now you have asked me, because everybody wants to start anything in life. See, this is not anything. It depends on your interest. I would just say, if you're interested in data science field, then go for it. If you're not interested, there are many more fields. You have digital marketing, you have social marketing, many things, a number of things. So if you truly love this field, then you come here. If you're just coming for the sake of salary, packages, this will not take you too far in this industry. This is my first advice. Second advice, now since you know that, okay, this is your field, you need to get in, then start working on it. Okay, daily, practice one thing, practice two things, practice three things. It just depends on the interest. Let's say, if you are from non-tech background, the roadmap would be start with SQL. Don't start with Python. You will be under tremendous pressure. If you start writing SQL queries very good, you will have that confidence. That confidence will help you in learning Python faster. Go up to intermediate level in Python, and thereafter move on into one of the BI tools. You learn the BI tools perfectly, you do 2 or 3 projects on that. So that's you get a hands-on. And thereafter you move on to statistics. You can also go to basic level of ML. If you are very good at coding, you can go to advanced level of ML, because that will help you in AI field. And thereafter, right now, everybody is moving towards cloud. So a bit knowledge of cloud side, it can be AWS, it can be Azure, it can be Google platform, anything. Just learn one thing, basic things, that will help you, that will give you an edge. So this was for the non-tech people. Coming to the tech people, since you are already technical people, you know how the language is, you can straight away start with Python. Not even up to intermediate level, you can go up to a top level. That will also help you. Even if you don't get a data analyst job, you might end up into a software developer job, because that is the base of everything. After doing Python, you can go with SQL. Okay, do n number of queries, that will help you in cracking interview, because in interview, interviewer will ask you, okay, I want this thing, how will you write a query? Straight away you need to do that. So that will come only when you have practiced n number of queries. And there are several platforms also where you can practice, like HackerRank is there, okay, Lead Code is there, so 𝗖𝗂𝗋 is there. I practiced on 𝗖𝗂𝗋 especially. So there are n number of things. You just Google up, you'll find many would have been there also. So after this, finally you can go up to ML, you can go to cloud thing, which I told for non-tech also, it is same for you also. So this was the roadmap. And apart from roadmap, I would also like to give a pro tip to the students, which ultimately people forget. See, don't compare yourself with other people. It is totally entirely your journey.
Right.
You are born and brought up in a different environment, and someone doing very well in this industry would be from different environment. You can't compare. You are doing injustice to your own abilities. Okay, if you are good at Power BI, work on Power BI, you will end up becoming Power BI developer. If you are good at SQL, you work hard in SQL, you will become SQL developer. Okay, ultimately you will get a job. Don't forget that. And it's a very vast industry. jobs are increasing, you will get it. Right now I believe that okay, industry is bit frozen up because of the global tension, but ultimately when it's open up, you will find n number of jobs. So just keep working on it daily. Give some 2 hours to 3 hours to this field, this knowledge, and persistence, consistency will take you to new heights. That is how I will end up this question. And just have faith in yourself, student. Just have faith in yourself. That's it.
So thank you so much, Amman, for sharing your experience. And it was really wonderful, inspiring, motivational, full of knowledge, full of experience. So people should definitely learn from your background. I also felt very inspirational here. So thanks for joining us and sharing your wonderful experience with the audience, with the students. I hope this will add a great value in their career path as well. So from my side and from the entire audience side, a big thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, audience.
So that is what I had in this podcast. I'm pretty sure you would have enjoyed till the very end and you would have learned a lot of things from Amman's experience. If yes, and you are also feeling really motivated and inspired as like me, then make sure to give a like to this video. And if you are new to the channel, then hit the subscribe button and press the notification icon so that you can get the notification for all such kind of amazing podcasts. So I will see you guys next week with something really amazing. Till then, just keep exploring data.